Hey everybody, Professor Tarnow here, and today's lesson is all about temperature. How does it affect beer? Well, in general, most flavors, this applies to anything that you're going to taste, really start to come alive right around 72 degrees, which is basically room temperature, and then all the way up to about 105 degrees, which is basically just past body temperature. Now, for the most part, all beers are going to be stored and served well below that temperature range. So the general takeaway is the more a beer can warm up, in theory, the more you'll actually pick up on some of those little subtle characteristics that you might lose or might be suppressed if the beer is served too cold. What if we have a beer like our family drama, a Pilsner? Now, Pilsners are actually really tasty right outside of the refrigerator. That most of our refrigerators at home are right around 38 degrees. And I'd say that's right around the temperature range that I think Pilsners start to taste really delicious. So if I was drinking a Pilsner at home, I would probably open it immediately out of the refrigerator, pour it into a glass, start enjoying it, and expect to have really awesome flavors just up until maybe about the mid to late 40 degrees. Now, what if I wanted to have an India Pale Ale like the Truth? Now, the Truth is actually designed and meant to be a very complex beer. A lot of different aromatics coming through on this beer. So this might be a beer that I would, at home, actually maybe give it about 5 to 10 minutes outside of the refrigerator before I take the crown cap off and pour it into a glass and begin enjoying it. One of the reasons that IPAs actually start to open up a little bit warmer is the warmer these beers become, the more you're speeding up the molecular activity inside the beer. It's actually those molecules that we're going to be smelling and noticing what aromas these beers have to offer. What if you've got a nice dry roasty stout like our Pearl Necklace Chesapeake Stout? Now, a beer like this I actually think starts to taste even better as it warms up because some of the flavors that are in stouts actually kind of remind me of like an after dinner cup of coffee. There's some really beautiful, slightly dark chocolatey, roasty, kind of espresso notes that come from a beer like this. And I'm kind of accustomed to drinking some of my coffees a little bit warmer, so I actually love these flavors as they open up. So this might be a beer at home that I might time to maybe sit 15-20 minutes outside of the fridge before I start to pour it into a glass. All right, now what about some of these more modern beers like a cranberry tangerine goza? Now, this came in our last minute gift pack this year, and these beers are really interesting because I'd say they probably have one of the widest temperature ranges to enjoy them in almost out of any other beer. When these fruity, tart, slightly salty flavors are a little cold, the beer's a little bit more refreshing. And then I love kind of noticing how this beer is changing about every 5 to 10 minutes or so that it's been outside of the fridge in my glass. So these beers are kind of a wild ride that I almost say like pour them cold, sort of take your time with them, let them warm up, and expect to have something brand new almost every time you take the glass up to have a sip from it. In general, the sweet spot is about a 44 to about a 54 degree temperature range. So this is basically, I would think that you'd be able to get into that 44 to 54 degree temperature range if you just give the beer a little bit of time to rest on the counter before you open them up. And then I would always recommend too, pouring them into a glass that isn't frozen. Because again, for the most part, we've kind of learned today that the warmer these beers get, the more that you're going to pick up on those subtle details that brewers are working so hard to get into your beer.